Okay, guys, now it's recording. So, here's my question for you. Do you know how much food gets wasted every year?
Unfathomable amounts.
How much?
1.3 billion tons of food gets wasted every year.
Is that metric tons?
Some kind of tons. Yeah, metric tons. No.
That's a lot.
I don't know. A metric
Yeah.
ton is a lot.
It's a
more
lot.
than
In the
English
world.
Royal
Mhm.
ton.
Okay. Why did you come to this dinner?
Honestly, I thought it would be tasty.
John invited me, and it seems like a very communal and social experience. And I had some food in my fridge that probably wasn't as good as it used to be. And that was my ticket in.
And how do you feel about the government putting restrictions on what people can and can't eat and what people can and can't have access to, especially in Amsterdam where you can't access the bins?
So you're talking about dumpster diving?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's important for the government to have a strong healthcare policy and to regulate the quality of food and produce. But I think it should be transparent and should be negotiable. That would be my response. It's pretty vague, I guess. I don't know specifically enough about what you're saying, but I'm sort of aware of the politics of dumpster diving. I've never done it myself. Kind of grosses me out. Maybe that's something I need to deal with.
I mean, the funniest thing about dumpster diving is it's less gross when you're eating it than it is when you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all boils down for me to this question of efficiency that I raised with you earlier, because this whole sustainability, this whole sufficiency, like efficiency is the boiled down point where everything stops making any sense. Like, how could it possibly be efficient when you're trying to have everybody fed that you would lock down the dumpsters? How could you arrest somebody for trying to eat when your system is not efficient enough to feed everyone? So that's, for me, that's sort of like my response. I guess that locking down your dumpsters because it has food in it that people could survive on, yeah, that's inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
I think it raises a lot of very difficult questions.
And it's also different everywhere because here in Amsterdam, the dumpsters are locked, but in other places in the States, they're not. So it's like whether you deem like garbage to be a private or a public property, and if it's private, then...
Yeah, who owns waste?
Well,
That's a really important question.
That's true.
What is the property value of waste? And also, like, it reflects back on that statistic that you cited, because then it's about making a strong delineation between what is produce and productive and what is wasteful and unproductive. And then you have to rethink all of those categories. I think like maybe dumpster diving forces that kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's maybe interesting as a practice.
Yeah, I mean, it seems really, really awkward for a state institution to actually make it illegal, such that the business doesn't itself have a decision to make. Because, when I was living at an animal activist campaign, there was also a communal living situation, Buffalo Field campaign, check it out. We had relationships with grocery stores where we would just be like, hey, yeah, like, we're here. And they're like, okay, give us 10 minutes because we're going to throw some extra tasty stuff away, and you can go grab it. So this is like to have it be, like, illegal, like, on both sides, where the person who is making the waste being the distributor or, I guess, grocery store in this case, they don't even have a right to deal with their own waste in a sustainable way or an efficient way in this case. Yeah, it's really, really a shame.
Do you have another question? It's paused on 59 seconds, but...
I know, we have another minute.
Yeah, but it's not counting down.
Is there another question?
Well, I guess from Michael, what you just said about how you think dumpster diving is pretty gross and you might have to get over that in your head, and then what you said about that it's easier to eat the food than to have to go for it, to dumpster for it. And it's because it's kind of crossed this boundary, right, between like it just moves from the where it was in the market to behind the market in the garbage dump.
Right.
So it's just this like really thin line.
But it's totally obvious we live in such a sanitized environment, like not just in terms of food, but in terms of our own sense of hygiene, our own sense of our sort of health in general, our personal relationship to our bodies, let alone our environment. So yeah, I think it's like interesting because it forces a bunch of issues. But when I say it's gross, I think that's a real thing. That might be a boundary that is very affective, that most people have to somehow traverse, or that politically we have to think about. That's very everyday reaction to waste and to garbage.
Yeah, I mean the opposite of this.
We flush our shit away, and then there's questions about who owns shit. Who owns the shit after you flush it?
Well, let's not go there because we're running out of time.
Okay, yeah.
But
So,
yes, do you have one more thing to say?
well, no, all I was saying is that flip between it being illegal to dive in dumpsters or to let people dive in dumpsters versus it being legal to waste food. I mean, that's a logistical possibility. Like you could make a law for that, but nobody has.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that experimented with more than I'd like to see the other one.